Welcome to Fitpage. My name is Yatish and today we have with us Sandeep to take you through a core workout for runners. Today we perform 4 exercises in a circuit fashion for 3 rounds. Our first exercise is a single leg raise for 10 repetitions. Our second exercise is rolling planks, again for 10 rotations. The next exercise is dead bugs for 10 repetitions on each side. And lastly, we have a beast hold that we perform for 30 seconds. So let's not waste time and get right into it.
Alright, for our first exercise, let's lie down on the floor. We have single leg raises, extended body, hands by your side, leg completely extended. We raise the right leg up without much bend in the knee. Raise it as high as you can, pressing the lower back into the floor, engaging your core, and we perform 10 repetitions. Remember, the key here is to make sure that your lower back is pressed hard against the floor, engaging your entire abdominal muscles. We're performing 10 repetitions on each leg. Now with the left side, pressing the lower back into the floor, engaging the core, also eliminates the effort that the flexors need to do to raise the leg up. This is going to come completely from your core muscles, so make sure to engage them while you try to raise your legs up. Great work. That's end of the first exercise. For our next exercise, we have rolling planks. For our next exercise, that's the rolling planks, we begin at a plank position on our forearms, keeping our feet slightly wider than normal since we are going to rotate onto one arm. Now, from this position, we want to rotate and come into a side plank on the right side. Now rotate back into a forearm plank and then rotating on the other side, coming into the left side plank. Now this movement will be repeated for 10 rotations. So we keep moving between side planks and forearm planks throughout the movement. Remember, keep a good breathing technique while you're performing these exercises since they are so dynamic in nature. They help stabilize our core in a dynamic way as well. Control the movement and try to keep your hips as stable as possible by bracing your core, keeping the torso upright with minimal bend in the back or the shoulders. For our next exercise, that is dead bugs, we lie down flat on the back. We bend at the hips and knees, making right angles. and raise your feet off the floor. Get your hands extended in front of you, perpendicular to the floor. From this position, you need to extend your right arm overhead and your left leg out in front of you by extending at the knee. However, do not let either your hands or legs touch the floor, and we engage our core and press the lower back firmly onto the floor. We get our hands and legs back to the start position and repeat the same movement on the left side. We perform 10 total repetitions on each side. Now, the key here is to maintain the lower back firmly on the floor by engaging the core at all times, even during extension and flexion of your hands and legs. This way, you are able to work on your abdominal muscles very effectively without any spinal flexion that happens during crunches and sit-ups. You will also find your lower back working really hard to keep the spine back on the floor. You can also engage your glutes for added support. All you need to do is slow down the movement, and once you've mastered it, you would be comfortable in moving the limbs in a counterlateral manner. At full extension, you would see the entire length of your abdominal muscles working hard to keep position in place, and that is why this exercise is so effective to build a good base for a strong core. Let's keep moving to the next exercise, that is beast hold. With our hands placed on the floor, shoulder width apart, wrist directly below our shoulders, knees directly below your hips, feet up on your toes. From this position, maintaining a flat back, we raise both our knees off the floor, and now we begin our exercise holding this position for 30 seconds. Another great exercise to challenge the stability of your core and also the strength. That's 30 seconds, and we are down with circuit number 1. We take 30 seconds of break and we continue with the circuit of these 4 exercises for round number 2. This 30 seconds is a good time to sip on water and rehydrate yourself, and also think about the movements that are coming up so that you're well prepared and you're ready to work hard on your core muscles. Let's begin the second round of all 4 exercises. For our first exercise, we have single leg raises, getting into position by lying down flat on the back, feet extended, hands by your side for support, and we raise the right leg up by engaging the core. Ten repetitions. Now let's perform the same 10 repetitions on the left side. That's great work. Our second exercise coming up is rolling planks. While getting into a forearm plank position, make sure that your feet are slightly wider than your hips to make the movement of rotations a little more easier. And if you want a good challenge, you can close the gap between both of your feet, challenging yourself every time you rotate. We are going from forearm plank to the right side plank, coming back to the forearm plank and then rotating to the left side plank. And we continue that for 10 total repetitions. Remember to keep your hip in line with your shoulders and heel. The moment your hip raises higher, you're losing tension into your core. That is easing out the exercise and not serving the purpose of core strengthening. So keeping the hips in line or slightly lower will help you engage the core far better. And since we are rotating from side to side, we're also getting our obliques to work hard to complete the entire movement. It's all about challenging ourselves, so make sure you're trying and getting a good form and technique into your movements. Feel the movement as you get from one position to another. That is 10 repetitions, and now we go into the next exercise, dead bugs. Let's get into position and begin with our counterlateral movement. Once again, flatten the lower back on the floor as firmly as you can by engaging the core and rotating the hip, and then start extending your arms and legs at either ends. And then now you can start extending your arms and legs out. Make sure you're not touching the floor and getting them back into the starting position. 10 repetitions on each side, so keep moving. If you've noticed, most of these exercises are focused on stabilizing your core muscles and strengthening them at the same time, so that we do not load your spine too much, trying to get a good contraction in your abdominal muscles. Again, remember to slow down the movement if you're having difficulties deciding which arm is next or which leg needs to extend next. All you need to do is slow down the movement. Great work. And now for the last exercise, beast hold. Once again, we get into position and we hold for 30 seconds. Make sure your knee is not too far behind your hip. It needs to be right below your hip, getting into a table position with your back completely flattened out. Great work. That was the end of round 2. We have 30 seconds of break and then we come back for round number 3. If you need more rest, you can always pause and extend the rest for a few more seconds. However, try not to exceed your rest intervals more than a couple of minutes. So we are back again for the last round of today. We start with single leg raises. Let's begin with the right side. Let's make each repetition count. Cues to remember: back flat on the floor, hip rotated, core engaged, helping the leg come up and down. Let's perform 10 repetitions on the left side now. I'm sure you guys are doing a great work at keeping that core tight and in place, engaging them throughout the movement. That was great. We have our second exercise, rolling planks. Once again, get into position, forearm plank, back flat, hips, shoulder and heel in one line, feet slightly wider than your hip for support, and begin by rotating on the right side. Great work. Make sure your hips are not high up but low and well engaged and in line with your shoulders. 10 total repetitions to perform. Let's keep moving. Great work. 2 more exercises to go for today's workout. Next up, dead bugs. One last time, let's get back into position. Foot out, raising your feet up off the floor. And we begin engaging the core, flattening the lower back on the floor, and extending the right arm and left leg out. We're counterlaterally moving, so once we perform with the right, we then get onto the left. Keep that core tight. Make sure that lower back is on the floor at all times. Try to put pressure as hard as you can to fix the lower back into the floor. Rotating the hip up. Also make sure that you're not raising your head off the floor. Keep it nice and relaxed. The shoulder and the head on the floor at all times. You do not want to be crunching. That was great work. We have one last exercise to go for today. Let's get into it. Beast hold for 30 seconds. Once again, remember, you do not want your knees too far behind. Bring them slightly closer so that it's exactly below your hips. Wrist exactly below your shoulders. Make sure that the distance between both your hands is shoulder width. The main cue to understand here is that you do not want to raise your knees off the floor too far, because that will bring your hips up, taking away from all the core work that needs to be done to keep and stabilize your body into this position. That's the end of 30 seconds. Great work.
That brings us to the end of our workout. Thank you for joining in. This is me, Yatish, signing off.